All right, what's up? I was asked to answer a couple questions, so that's what I'm gonna do. Um, I guess I'll jump right into it. Get started at the top.
I don't know what you guys are up to. I don't know what this is for, or who the audience is, but I love y'all, and here it goes. PJ, you're probably gonna see this, and I apologize in advance.
So, what's Caroline's favorite food? Well, we talked about this recently, actually, and before my answer probably would have been her dad's meatballs or something like that he makes, because those are awesome. But then we talked a little bit more broadly, and I think that I think she would probably say bread. Bread, like she can't live without bread in her diet. So I'm gonna go with bread. Final answer.
What is PJ's favorite food? It is sauerkraut, Canadians. Your guess is as good as mine. It changes weekly. It was boiled eggs for a little bit. I don't really know.
What was Caroline's first job? We actually talked about this recently also as well. Caroline's first job, she worked as a salesperson for a little cooking shop, and it was called Consider the Cook. She was like a store assistant, so they were selling like kitchenwares and things like that. That was Caroline's first job.
Number 2. What was PJ's first job? It was Bojangles. PJ, don't hate me that I don't remember.
How does Caroline like to unwind after a long day? So this one's actually really funny. Caroline, whenever she gets home from work or rotations or something like that, she'll always come in and say, I gotta wash off the day. So the first thing she does, she gives me like a little peck of a kiss, and then she won't even give me a hug or anything. She'll just jump right in the shower. Gotta wash off the day. And then have a glass of wine ready for her, and she'd like to snuggle up on the couch after that. So wash off the day and then snuggle up with a glass of wine would probably be the way that she likes to unwind after a long day.
How does PJ like to unwind after a long day? Okay, whatever. So 2 different ways that man unwinds. He unwinds, if I'm not there, by locking himself up in his room and not talking to anyone. Decompressing, which totally get. We're both introverted extroverts. You need some recharge time alone. And he just decompresses that way, because we both have social jobs. If he's with me, we both kind of decompress the same way. He will just come and lay on my chest, and we just won't speak for like a couple minutes, and then we can talk about our days, but we both need that time. It's crucial.
What song would you say best describes your relationship? So this one, song that best describes our relationship, I would say, is the song by Zach Bryan called Sun to Me. It was a song that I played whenever I asked Caroline to marry me. Had it playing in the background, just talking about a guy that is sort of nothing in a dark place without his girl, and she comes along and she's the sun. She grows flowers in him whenever there's dark places. So she's the sun. She makes all the flowers grow.
What song would you say best describes your relationship? Okay, that's a tough one. Because all I can think about right now is PJ on our road trip. He was like, this song is about me and you. And it was the one where it goes, alcoholics. Something a little sweeter than that. I really hope you don't go with that one, PJ. I'm going to be disappointed in you. Either Sun to Me, that was the one that you proposed to me with, which, I mean, you listen to the words and it's describes our relationship. I forgot the other one. Oh my gosh. Okay, Don't Fade by Vance Joy. Take a listen. It's very sweet.
If Caroline could have any superpower, what would it be? So this is my answer for Caroline. She'd probably have a different answer than me, but I think if she could have a superpower, it would be the ability to clone herself, because in every given second of the day, she has so many thoughts racing through her brain. So if she was able to clone herself, each one of those individual thoughts would be able to have its own head to like carry out her individual missions. So the ability to clone herself so each individual thought can have its own brain would probably be the superpower she would have.
If PJ could have any superpower, what would it be? Be able to fly all the time, or he changes between like wanting to be a human dictionary. I don't think he ever wants to read people's minds. That would make anyone go crazy. So we're gonna go with flying. I apologize in advance, PJ. That was bad. I definitely should know. We've had an embarrassing amount of conversations about that.
Who's your celebrity crush? This is easy. We have the same celebrity crush. It's Tom Holland. So yeah, that's our collective celebrity crush.
Who is PJ's celebrity crush? Easy one, Scarlett Johansson or Tom Holland, who we both fight over. He's mine.
What is one thing that Caroline can't live without? This is an interesting one because Caroline's not really a person that is about things. She doesn't really care about things too much. There's not really many things in her possession that she needs. And the one thing I will say is that she always wears her little grandma's cross necklace. I'm sure she's wearing it right now. She never takes it off. I've never seen her take it off. So I can't imagine. That's sort of like part of her. I can't imagine Caroline without that. And I can imagine that if it was lost, that she would be pretty upset. Yeah, so I'd say that's the one thing she probably can't live without.
What is one thing that PJ can't live without? This is a really sweet one that I don't know if he can't live without, but it's something that he makes a very big point that we do every time I see him or spend the night with him or anything like that. He always ensures that we give a kiss before we go to sleep, just like a goodnight kiss. And he makes it very clear. He's like, I want that to happen every night, even when we're married, blah, 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 like all that stuff. And something I didn't realize that would be so important, but he'd be very mad if we were without that. So that is probably something you could not live without. I don't know.
What is Caroline's favorite quality about PJ? Caroline's favorite quality about me, she'll say that it's my patience, but I don't see it as patience. She says that I'm patient with her, but there's no need to be patient because the things that she might feel a little insecure about, or the things that she might think are annoying to other people, or people have said were annoying in the past, they aren't annoying to me, and I find the beauty in those things, and I think that she wouldn't be her without those things. And so what she calls patience would be probably what she thinks is her favorite quality in me, but I think it's the fact that I find the beauty in what she sees as flaws. So I think that would be her favorite, or her favorite quality in me.
What is PJ's favorite quality? Favorite quality of Caroline. One in specific that he really made a point of a while ago that really stuck with me. He is the first person that was not my mother to tell me this, so it really stuck with me. We were talking about like what of our personalities would be our superpowers, like, I don't know, a year ago or something like that. And his answer to that was my ADHD, which I don't know. It's just, that's something that I have really worked hard to hide and have fought against and have been ashamed of. And he's really the first person to look at me, all of me, with that, and, you know, just think it's a beautiful thing and think that it's something that I wouldn't be me without it. And I don't know.
What's her biggest pet peeve? Chewing with your mouth open. Luckily I don't do this, but when we're around somebody that chews with their mouth open or chewing gum, like, yeah, that's her biggest pet peeve. Sometimes I'll do it just to piss her off, but yeah, that's her biggest pet peeve.
And what is PJ's biggest pet peeve? When people don't do their jobs. Put that on his tombstone.
What is Caroline's favorite thing to cook or bake? She'll make anything Italian. she's amazing at cooking, and that's one of the things I love about her is she's like eager to cook and loves to cook. So anything Italian, she'll make it, and she'll make it great. I mean, she makes anything great, but I think I would probably, if I had to choose one thing, maybe it would be her dad's chicken parm. But I'm gonna stick with anything Italian.
What is PJ's favorite thing to cook or bake? Sir, he don't bake, and he don't cook. So, I don't know. Doesn't mean he can't. He just doesn't.
Okay. At what moment did Caroline fall in love with PJ? This is an interesting one because, unlike my situation where I can specifically pinpoint one exact day, I don't think that there was a specific day for Caroline where she noticed that she was in love with me. I think it was more of a gradual thing for her. I think we got closer and closer as friends, and that friendship sort of just blossomed into a relationship. And over time, I think she started to realize that the feelings she was having like turned into love rather than there was one specific moment where she could point out and say, yeah, this is the time. But maybe if I had to pick a day and pick a time, it may have been the health fair day where we had that health fair at NSU. All the OT girls had a booth. I came to like say hey to everyone, and Caroline and I went on a walk around the healthcare fair looking at all of the things that people had. And after she was done with her booth, like with her time at the booth, we went on some ADHD missions. Caroline had a bunch of different things that she wanted to do, so we went to Marshall's and we got her a little mirror that we were gonna paint and make into like some sort of calendar thing. I think she wanted to go to Target for something else, so we went and did a bunch of different things. And then while we were driving back from Target and Marshall's, Home Goods, stuff like that, we stopped by Palm Trace where I showed her where I used to live and how close it was to where she was living at the time at Amley. And then we were leaving Palm Trace, and Caroline looked at me, and she's like, I don't really want to go home. I was like, well, what do you want to do? It's like 10 o'clock at this point. She was like, I don't know, let's go do something. I was like, well, what are we going to do? She's like, you want to go to the beach? I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to go to the beach. So instead of turning left to go to Amley, we turned right. We went on 595 and headed over to the Dania Pier. We sat on the beach, and that was the night of our first kiss. So if I had to pick out a specific day, it would probably be that day.
What moment did PJ fall in love with Caroline? We've talked about this before too. I guess like along, we didn't cheat, Mel. It was a specific moment when he knew he was going to marry me, but I think that we both were in love with each other all along, and we just had no idea. He specifically, if we're going with the question, I guess it was when my parents came to visit, and Anna and Mal were up at the Curio at Yale Falcon. And we walk in, and Mallory and Anna go, and it's the Campions, or some dumb shit like that they would do, very typical. It was a great entrance, but he got to meet them that night, and I guess it was when he fell in love, or what? You have to ask him for the details on that, but he said he called his parents that night and said he wanted to marry me.
It's the most romantic thing Caroline has ever done for PJ. This one, I always smile whenever I think about this. Caroline, she, one day, it was like coming up on my birthday, and she didn't think that we were dating at the time, and there's a big controversy of whether we were dating or not. In my mind, we were dating. In her mind, since I hadn't asked her to be my girlfriend, we weren't dating. But I still say that we were dating. We'd been dating for a couple months in my mind at that point, but she was like, no, we weren't dating. Anyway, my birthday was coming up, and I don't like doing things for my birthday so much. So I was just going to have a night in, not do anything, and I invited Caroline to come over and watch a movie or something like that, and she came over. She had this bag of stuff, and I was like, what is all this stuff? we bring it up to my apartment. I was living in Shalimar. Brought it up to my apartment and open it up, and it's all of the things to make my favorite meal, like my favorite all-time meal. It's called canadles. You make it with like potato balls, like a, um, a little pork roast, and some sauerkraut. It's like a German-Hungarian dish that my grandma always used to make. We would only have it on special occasions. So I found out that she had been talking to my mom, texting my mom, calling my mom, and it's no small feat to make this meal. It takes at least 2 or 3 days to make because there's like prep and stuff that you have to do. So she went through um, all of this work. You see my dog running in the background. She went through all of this work to make this like really awesome meal, and it tasted amazing. So that was probably the most romantic thing. And we got to eat the dinner, and we watched a movie, and yeah, it was a great time. We called my grandma. I told my grandma that Caroline made this for me, so it was a really, really romantic, nice gesture that she did.
What is the most romantic thing PJ has done for Caroline? Oh God, that's hard. I really don't know. God, I don't think I can boil it down to one specific moment, really, truly. I think it's an everyday thing that he does the big, big grand gestures and everything like that too, but he gives me unconditional and genuine love every single day. And he hears my anxieties and me being an anxious girly and loves every single bit of it and accepts me for who I am and all of my faults. And I think that is the most romantic thing because he empowers me all the time too. Like he talks me off cliffs daily. So if that's not romantic, I don't know what is.
What have you learned from Caroline since being in a relationship? Um, I think the most important thing I learned from being in a relationship with Caroline so far is what it feels like and how good it is to feel loved for the person that you are rather than like constantly being like trying to be molded to something that your partner wants you to be. We talk so much about like how happy we are with who the other person is and how we don't want that person to change, and I've never been in a relationship like that. There's always been something wrong with me that I need to change, I need to fix. I'm not mature enough. I'm too, I don't know, too wild or too stupid or too goofy, or I don't clean the right way, or it's always something, but we always find like what the other person does is always good enough and is always perfect, exactly what we want, and I've never felt that before. So learning that, and that's what a real relationship feels like, and it made the decision to propose to Caroline super easy because it never felt like that before.
What have you learned from PJ since being in the relationship? And this is going to sound dumb for a lot of people, but I've really learned what it means to be 50-50 in the relationship. Instead of it being like the man doing all the work and he was the first one to be real with me and be like, if you don't put some effort into this shit, I'm like, but he didn't say it like that, but I mean, I was head over heels for him, and I realized if I didn't, he's not just gonna, sounds so dumb, but if this is a bad one. 50-50, being 50-50 in the relationship, giving, and sometimes and this is probably the most important one that I've realized too, is that if one person can only give 20, that's okay. The other can give, what's the math on that, 80. And then it can switch off. And if only the other person can only give 20, the other person can give 80. You pick up the other slack, you keep each other going, especially through everything that we've been through. We've really learned the art of picking each other up when we're down.
This is my favorite question. How did you know it was love? So I love this story. It's hilarious, but it's also a lot of fun, and I think all the girls will like this story because they're a part of it. The day that I had night I realized that I was in love with Caroline was actually probably 6 months before we started dating, which is really funny because both of us had gone through other entanglements prior to us dating, so I guess I knew that I was in love with Caroline even before that. But this day was whenever we were all at Falcon doing karaoke, and Caroline's parents were coming into town for the weekend or something like that, and I was coming in, and I went to Falcon to meet you guys, and I met her parents for the first time, and whenever I met them, they walked in. I didn't really meet them at first, but all the girls were singing karaoke because we were like the only ones in there, maybe one other group of people, and somebody queued up Sweet Caroline, and then everyone jumped on the stage, started singing, having a great time. Sweet Caroline, and seeing the way that Caroline interacted with her friends, with her family, how smiley she was, how goofy she was, dancing on the stage, not a care in the world.
Get it in sync, come on!
That was probably the moment that I realized, well, it was definitely the moment that I realized that I was in love with her, because I was just like, this girl is carefree, she doesn't give a shit what anybody else thinks. She loves her family, she loves her friends, and they love her back, and it just takes a really special person to make that impact on people. And it's funny because that day, right after I left Falcon, I was driving home, and it's a really short drive from Falcon back to Shalimar where I was living, and I called my parents, and I was like, okay, Mom, Dad, I found the girl that I'm going to marry, like, this is her. It's not going to happen now, I'm going to play the long game, but this is the girl, and my parents can attest to that conversation. It actually happened, it happened just like that, which you can't draw it up any better, so I think that was definitely the moment that I knew it was love. And if any of the girls have videos of that night on your phone or something like that, I'd love to know the actual date that happened, because I don't have the actual date, and it'd be fun to like piece things together, make that timeline.
And how did you know it was love? It was always different with PJ. It wasn't like a lightning bolt aha moment. Like, I think I just genuinely, like, I loved his soul. Like, I loved every single part of him. And when we became best friends, when I would talk about him to people would be like, okay, Caroline, yeah, sure. Like, you're just friends. I think that is like the true definition of love, is just, it's not even just like, you know, surface level attraction. Like, I love every single part of you. I love your goofiness. I love how you respond to people when you answer questions. I love when you get flustered. I love just literally every part about you. I just love your soul. Like, it just who you are to the core as a human being. And I've been like that about him since we were friends, and I would tell people that, and they would be like, okay, Caroline, that does not sound like a friendship love. But like, at that time, you just cherish everything about that person. And I think that is just the true definition of love to its core.
Favorite memory together? I think nothing can beat the road trip that we went on. That was just such a special time. Like, 9 days on the road, going across the country, a different city every day, a different adventure every day. That's sort of just who we are. We love going on adventures together, just sort of going with the flow. We didn't know where we were going to stay any given night. Didn't know if we were going to sleep in the car on the way to the next city just to catch a couple hours and then keep driving, or if we were going to stop in a hotel or maybe stay with a friend on the way. We had no idea. And that's what made it so fun, because we were just like going by the seat of our pants. It was just no plan, hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, let's go do it. Sort of like the night of our first kiss. It was just like reminded me of that so much. But I do have one specific memory of that trip where we were sitting in, or we were staying in a little tent in the middle of Utah, and it was in Kanab, Utah. There's a beautiful tent, and the tent opened up to just nothing, just like desert and mountains. That's all there was. We couldn't see another tent. Even though it was a little small compound with a couple tents, our view didn't have any tents in it. We just saw like the mountainscape and the desert. And we woke up, or I woke up, Caroline was still sleeping, around sunrise because I wanted to watch the sunrise, and instead of like getting up and sitting on the porch area, I just sort of pinned back the curtains so we could see the sunrise, because the sun rose like right in front of where our bed was looking out, and we watched the sunrise. I laid back in bed while the sun was rising, and we sort of snuggled up and watched the sunrise in our little tent, and had some good conversations, some good company, and then eventually ended up falling back asleep, and it was some of the best sleep I've had in my entire life. So that was probably my favorite memory that we have together, even though every other memory we have together is just as important, just as fun. But that one is a little bit more special than the rest.
What is your favorite memory together? God, there's so many. I think the first time that everybody came to my house for spring break, before he went to Okeechobee the first time, we went out onto the beach after everyone went to sleep, and we had to sneak past the security guard, and I think his name was Bartholomew. We snuck past him the first time, and we got down to the beach, and Bart was just this grumpy old man that just was bored and wanted to ruin everyone's fun. So we saw his flashlight coming down the beach, and I swear he probably was like, "Hey, you kids!" And we bolt the other direction, and we just start running down the beach. And we were hiding from Bart, and he definitely walked down the beach, and we laid down on the sand to blend in with, we were drunk. I don't know what our brains were thinking. Yeah, he's not going to see us. He probably could see us and just was too lazy to walk all the way down. But hiding and running from Bart, it's probably my first favorite memory of us together.
Last question. If you could describe your love story in one word, what would it be? I spent a lot of time thinking about this one, but I think I narrowed it down to blossoming. Blossoming means flowers blooming, new things arriving, coming from one small little seed, one small stem that sort of just grows this huge, beautiful thing. And whenever something's blossoming, it's not done growing yet. It's still opening up. It's still finding new petals, new leaves. So I would say that sort of perfectly describes our love story. It started out of next to nothing, and then it just grew into this huge, beautiful thing that is just like the center of my world. So I think that word blossoming describes our love story perfectly.
If you could describe your love story in one word, what would it be? Unexpected, but I would say peace, because whenever I am with him, no matter what the chaos is, I feel at peace in my heart. And if I ever feel like I need to be at peace and I am not at peace, I can just lay my head on his chest and the world silences around me.
Alright, sorry this video was a little long, but thank you guys for listening. I love you guys. I love you, Caroline. Can't wait to marry you. Yeah. Happy New Year.